And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some clips from the news, and having a little bit of dialogue with those of you who were able to join us for the live portion. You can find me if you wanted to join the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk and on Prepper University. That's Coffee Talk at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. Don't do that. All right, having a cat problem here. That's a little girl being weird. Little girl has joined us in the office today. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Also being joined by Monkey, who you might be able to see sleeping in the chair behind me, taking a little nap as we get ready to go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chimed in so far on the chat board. So I see Helter is here, Dragon is here, Donna is here, who says, remember, thumbs up, like, and share. Please do, if you don't mind. Chillin' Dave is here. Again, I do read through as many comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see the podcast. Not able to see as we get ready to jump off into the news, the realm of the ridiculous in this crazy world that we are spinning out of control on. And we'll start off. You must have seen this. Fox News. Kamala Harris goes viral with cringe new accent at the Detroit rally. It sparks foghorn leghorn comparisons. And that is true. And I actually have a side-by-side comparison because she said the exact same speech at two different rallies on the same day in two different cities and used two different accents. But I'll go ahead. I'm going to play that in a minute, but I'll go ahead and read this off. Vice President Kamala Harris raised eyebrows during her Labor Day rally in Detroit, Michigan, unveiling what critics call a new accent. Harris spent her Monday holiday in the Motor City hoping to shore up blue-collar union workers in the critical battleground state that she wants to keep blue in the November election. Worked out really well for them, hasn't it? Quote, you better thank a union member for the 5-day work week, Harris told the crowd with a noticeable shift in her dialect. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time, excuse me. No, Mike can thank former union leaders from decades past, but not anybody currently. So it says this is her 7th new accent in 4 weeks, according to Trump's senior advisor, Stephen Miller. She has literally never used this accent before. She grew up in Canada. Phoniest politician in all of politics. That's right. She did grow up in Canada. She went to school there. It said there are countless traits that I despise in humans, few as such as inauthenticity, professor and podcast host Gad Sad wrote. I don't know who that is. I don't know if they have any of the audio here. And there is Foghorn, who's canceled, by the way. You can't talk about Foghorn Leghorn anymore. As I catch up a couple of comments here really quickly, I see Jane has joined us, and they got the notification. Were you here in time to see little girl playing with the fish? Gary Edwards is here. Jane says they heard about the voice change, and her and her family were like, why? Because that's called pandering to your audience. You're trying to, if you look down on an audience, you lower yourself to what you think their standard is, instead of just being who you are and explaining yourself if anyone doesn't understand. Okay? That's what you should do. That's why I never believed in baby talk. Speak as you are. Even when I ran the daycare, this is how I spoke to the children. I might have slowed it down a little bit so they wouldn't miss anything. Hey, Jimmy, do you understand? Let's go over here for a minute. Slow it down maybe. But I'm not going to talk to Jimmy like this. Oh, Jimmy, no. You're lowering yourself. They should reach up to you. You shouldn't crawl down to them. Unless you think they're morons. And that's what this is. She's speaking down to them, even though the media, they love it. They love it. They're talking about how diverse she is and how easily she communicates with people from different walks of life. No, that is not what this is. Dragon says the accent is so fake it should come with a made in China label. There you go. Helta said Kamala was wrong about the 5-day work week. The non-union Ford Motor Company instituted the 5-day work week back in 1926 before anyone else. Helter is correct. That is correct. And I do remember that. And they had the $5 day too, right? Flat rate $5 day. Is that? I think so. And Jane says, you sound like my mom. No baby talk to any of her grandkids or me as a baby. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. What are they going to learn? But I do have this pulled up. I do have it pulled up, and it's her at 2 different rallies because she crossed the border and did 2 on the same day and gave the same freaking speech. Let me see if I got this queued up right. And then we should be able to hear her pandering to these crowds. Well, hold on a second. I think I got it. I think I got it. All right, here we go. I think this is the one I'm looking for. I just want to make sure. Garius says the accents are a different demon. Oh, no. Is she Legion? Is she Legion? Is she many? Shame. This is the Telegraph, and I think this is where that link is. Okay. So, because it goes to an X account that plays them side by side, and I'm going to pause that and blow it up. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna cross this over so that you can. Oh, I had it pulled up. Sorry, Restream is a little confusing sometimes. Here it comes. This is her in Detroit. This is her in Detroit, and I'll let you hear it if you haven't heard this yet. And then I'll play the other speech that she had in literally a couple of hours later in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She gives the same speech and changes her accent. And people want to vote for this woman. They trust her. So here we go. New accent now.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know.
Okay. Now here she is in Pittsburgh, like 2 or 3 hours later. Listen to the voice.
Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
That's pathetic. That is pathetic. The only time I would change my voice is if I was being sarcastic. Chillin says, if you don't talk baby talk, you will never meet Joe Biden. I doubt I would ever meet him anyways. Nature Nerd says, I would like a flexible work week or 4-day work week. It's called part-time. Sven says, Satan looks up in disgust when she speaks. He hates his helpers. Oh my God. And that's Life has joined us today. And then Chillin says, only AOC chatting is worse than Scamala's voice. Well, she does the same thing. And I see this primarily with female politicians. The females are the more likely to do this accent shift to pander to an audience. Most notably, of course, besides Kamala Harris, is AOC and Hillary Clinton. They're the 3 biggest ones that pull that kind of crap. Those are the 3 biggest ones. And I see Monkey has joined us as well. Glad you could make it today. As she panders by swapping out her voice, pretending to sound like something else.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Then how come we have it in states that don't have unions? How come non-union jobs also have these things? Just asking.
Because what we know.
And she's going to pander hard to unions, though, because they dump a lot of money. They dump a lot of money into politicians. So, yeah, she's going to suck up to unions. She's going to suck up to unions. That's what you do. That's Life says maybe one is a deep fake Harris. They're all fake. They're all fake. That's Life. They're all fake. It's her. It's her. Maybe it depends on how much vodka she's got in her. Maybe that's the deciding factor. Is she drunk enough to carry on? She's got a certain level she's got to achieve. It's kind of like Bender from Futurama. He's got to have a certain amount of beer in him to function properly. Certain amount of beer. Hey, who knows? Who knows? But I get tired of that, and I'm surprised that more people don't call it out. That I want to know how offended the actual people are. I don't care what the media has to say about it, because the media acts like it's fantastic. Oh, listen to her. She's so diverse. She knows how to speak to different audiences. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Those audiences will pretend to go along with it. Those unions are going to act like everything is great because she's saying what they want to hear. But it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make her better or smarter. I think actually it shows a great deal. It's either a great deal of disrespect or a great deal of a lack of confidence. If you feel like you have to alter your accent or your normal dialogue, your normal way of speaking to pander to an audience. Chillin says they won't drink vodka anymore. You don't need it. And Jane says she needs to stop the ghetto talk or just be her and just be herself. We don't know what that is. What is herself? As far back as I've seen, she's been doing that. What is she really like? Maybe we've never seen the real her. Maybe she's like Ellen, and when nobody's looking, she's cussing people out and making threats and throwing things, throwing empty beer bottles. I could see that too. The angry drunk pitching bottles across the room, screaming at people. You don't understand me. No, we kind of don't. Here's something else I don't understand. We're going to jump to Columbia University. Nature Nerd says, how does any president help a union? I really can't think of any. And the warden has joined us today. How do they help? Well, they can try to push the agenda of having mandatory unions or the elimination of right to work, because there are states where you are not required to join a union. Even if it's a union job, you don't have to pay your union fees unless it's a state that does not have right to work, like New York or Illinois. And again, I lived in Illinois, and I've made the example that when I transferred from Durham, Kansas to Durham, Illinois, I had to join the union, or they wouldn't even talk to me. They wouldn't even accept the transfer. And then when I worked for UPS in Illinois, I had to fill out the union card before I could even finish the application, or they wouldn't hire you. So that's the power that the states and the government can have to try to force that, which means the unions will have more power, they'll get more money, and a lot of that money is used to do what? To fund political candidates. And I don't think unions in politics should be connected. The union is supposed to represent the worker, not pay off politicians or steal the funds, which is all I ever hear about. It's all I ever hear about. So as we get on here, and we're looking at a Fox News article, masked anti-Israel protesters at Columbia University demonstrate as students check in for the first day of classes. Can't give people a damned break. Can't give them a break. This is what you're going to walk into your first day going to Columbia University. People in Shamaz who couldn't find the Middle East on a map, let alone Palestine or Israel or anything else. Couldn't find it on a map, I'm sure. Protesting, first day of school. I'll tell you what, before I even get to this article, the era of colleges and university having value towards making well-rounded adults is dead. It's dead and buried. It's over. It's over. It's pointless, I think, to even send your child to college or university anymore. Send them to a trade school. Trust me. Don't let them learn how to actually do something. Let them learn how to use their hands and use their brains. So into the article, masked anti-Israel protesters are demonstrating on Tuesday outside of one of the entrances to Columbia University, chanting "Free Palestine" and holding signs urging the Ivy League school to divest from death as students are trying to get to their first day of classes. If that's what you're going to walk into first day of school, you need to reevaluate whether or not it's worth it to even get that university education. The demonstrations come after a series of protests rocked the New York City-based university this past spring, which generated worldwide media attention and more than 100 arrests. The anti-Israel activity also comes just days after Hamas killed 6 hostages, including 23-year-old Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Poland. Hamas has been holding them captive and continues to hold nearly 100 others since they carried out terror attacks in southern Israel on October 7th of last year. At least one protester was captured on video being arrested on Tuesday, while other demonstrators were observed pushing barricades and getting into a scuffle. A second male individual then was taken into custody outside Bernard College, which is across the street from Columbia. Okay, so and it makes the example. It says the demonstration began peaceful with protesters simply walking in a circle on the sidewalk. So once they got going here, they turned nasty, and now there's arrests, basically. Helta says they might as well save their parents' money and get jobs as janitors from now. And Jane says, I heard Italy and Japan needs people. They'll pay you. So why not immigrants go there? People attracted to the U.S. cause so many freedoms. Italy, no. Italy is trying to get rid of people. Italy is flooded with migrants, and they're over capacity, and they're trying to stop them coming in. And Japan, I don't know how they're doing for people, but they don't like people coming into the country. It's tough to get into Japan, because they don't want their culture to be too much diluted. And I can understand that. Gary says colleges teach how to complain effectively. It's not what you know, it's boo-hoo who you know. Yeah. And that's really the thing. I mean, these people in these schools and universities are learning how to basically protest and whine and carry on. They're professional protesters trained really from elementary school on. They're training them to be activists, and then they get into colleges and universities and cut up, and everybody's like, I don't understand how this happened. It's your fault. And Tuck is here. He said thumbs up both channels. Thank you, Tuck. I'll take all the thumbs up I can get. Can't hurt. Can't hurt. So there you go. This is what it looks like right here. Well, they get union signs. UAW signs are up there too. This is what it looks like trying to get into your college or university in the Western world now. Columbia kills, but you're out there. Are you actually a student? And that's been part of the problem also, is that many of the people who are showing up at these colleges and universities are not even students, which is why there were these mass arrests across the United States last season. And Fluke Man has joined us, trying to catch it. Fluke Man has joined us. Glad you could make it. Dragon says they're afraid to do this in the Middle East. Yeah, please go. Go your ass to the Middle East. I think it was Jordan, wasn't it? One of those countries offered them a free education. And it's like, okay, get on a plane and go out there. Bye. Don't come back either. Not that if you come back, your degree won't be worth anything anyways, because degrees from the Middle East aren't recognized in the Western world because they're considered inferior. Legend says, present, and I got my first collision ticket on Saturday. Was super ticked. I said sorry. However, with the amount of people coming to Ohio and the lack of them leaving, it's only a matter of time. I've been hit 5 times. Long story short, lowest ticket I ever paid. Interesting. And Monkey says Japan's getting some rougher ones like the Pakis and the Muslims, but are mostly in the touristy areas. Yeah, they don't like it in Japan. Well, they've already had the huge invasion. That's actually what the movie The Last Samurai was about with Tom Cruise, is how the Western world negatively impacted and diluted Japan's natural culture back at the turn of the last century. They don't want any more of that. They're already upset about it. But this is what you can expect now. You go to college and university in the Western world right here. So, yeah, it seems like it's completely pointless. You're not learning much of anything anymore anyways. They inject a lot of social, political rhetoric into the students. These kids are no longer getting real world experience. They're not getting well-rounded. This is what a college or a university was meant to do: create a well-rounded individual and train them for a career. I don't see that happening anymore in these universities and even in the colleges. I don't see it happening anymore. I can't see the value in it. I can't see the value in it. But that's what you can expect now. That's the new normal. Are you going to get the old normal back? Time will tell. Time will tell. Back to the Kamala Waltz ticket and unions. And this is Tim Waltz Hill article, if it comes up. It says Waltz boasts he's not in the pocket of organized labor. I am the pocket. Now, I've got an interesting point to make about this. I can't believe he's not that old. He's only like 50 something, right? He looks absolutely burned out. Does anyone know how old Tim Waltz is off the top of their head? Because he looks like he's about 85 in that shot. Anyways, as I move on here, Minnesota Governor Tim Waltz boasted on Monday that he's the pocket of unions as he and Vice President Harris court support from the critical voting bloc in several blue wall states to mark Labor Day, sucking up to union leaders, basically. Quote, Republicans came up to me in one of my campaigns and they said Tim is in the pocket of organized labor. And I said, that's a damn lie. I am the pocket, Waltz told the crowd at Labor Fest in Milwaukee. And I told them, if you want to attack me for standing up for collective bargaining, for fair wages, for safe working conditions, for health care and retirement, you roll the damn dice. I'll take my chances on that, he said to Cheers. A former teacher, yeah, barely. He was a teacher in China, and when he was in the United States, he coached the B team in a junior high school. until he got fired because of a DUI. Am I wrong? Did I miss something there? He kicked off the Labor Day holiday by meeting with local labor leaders in Minnesota before heading to neighboring Wisconsin. Of course, it's suck up to the labor leaders, suck up to union leaders, and that's what you do. So, oh my God. But here's the Freudian slip here. Here's the Freudian slip. He tried to correct it by said, and I told them if you want to attack me. The Freudian slip is right here where he says he is the pocket. Republicans came up to me in one of my campaigns and they said, Tim is in the pocket of organized labor. I doubt anyone wearing a Republican shirt, a big elephant shirt, and says, I am a Republican and I accuse you of being in the pocket of unions. That didn't happen, Tim. You're full of shit. And he goes on to say, I said that's a damn lie. I am the pocket. That is a big Freudian slip, and I'll tell you why. Tim used to be the leader of the Educational Labor Union. And his division of that labor union is currently under investigation for illegally funding Shapiro in his gubernatorial campaign. They funneled money to him through a third party, which is illegal. And it's been under investigation. And I don't know where it's going or when it'll get anywhere, but we're talking a lot of money, in excess of $1 million of money from the Educational Labor Union that people, the members, the union members, they didn't even know where that money was going. So he's funding another governor on the slide through a union with union funds that are meant for other things, which is another reason, again, I don't trust unions, and I don't think unions should be funding any political party at all, any of them. So yeah, he is the pocket because he's pulling other people's strings instead of just having strings pulled on him. In many regards, that's worse. That's worse. Chill and say, records say he's 41. No way. Is Tim Walz 41 years old? Somebody confirm that for me. 81 maybe. Fluke Man says Japan's considering accepting immigrants and refugees to receive financial help from other countries. Japan national debt is critical. Long working hours, overworked, sexless country, and low birth rate. Yeah, and that's they've lost a lot of their family values as well, unfortunately. And they've got a lot of introverts in Japan, people that are afraid to go out and meet anybody and form a relationship. They become disenfranchised. They become disenfranchised. Chillin said he was kidding. Okay, Helter says he's 60 years old. He still looks pretty worn out for 60. Maybe that's why he drinks horse semen. That's still unconfirmed. That is a rumor. I have to say that is a rumor. I do not know for sure if that's true, but he has been accused of it. Yeah. He's been accused of it. Monkey says 41-year-olds don't bald like that. Not typically. So, yeah, apparently he's 60 years old. He still looks bad for 60. I don't know. I just think, people should take better care of themselves. You should take better care of yourselves. Do the best you can. Do the best you can. Do the best you can. Diet, exercise, good hygiene, physically and orally, good digestive health. Those things all matter. Those things all matter. I wanted to talk about that at some point here in the near future, because the new Crest commercials are starting to piss me off. I got a new a new pet peeve when it comes to Crest commercials, and I got to remember to pull up a couple of images. I'll show the commercial too if I can get away with it, because I keep getting in trouble on ScrewTube for showing video clips. Keep getting in trouble for with ScrewTube. But yeah, him saying he is the pocket, to me, that's a Freudian slip. You're the pocket because not only do you have strings attached, but you're pulling other people's strings and you're doing other shady things with that money. And Chillin says corruption ages you. Yeah. Or ages like milk, as they say. Ages like milk. Here's your hypocrisy for the day. The big Hippocratic moment. Here it comes. The warden says he drinks horse semen because he's a rooster sucker. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I assumed he got the horse semen from a bottle, warden, but you know, we'll just leave that right there. Bloomberg article. Maduro orders the arrest of rival to quell Venezuela's dissent. He'll martyr the guy if he arrests him. That's a bad idea. So here we go. Venezuela ordered the arrest of presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez in an escalation of the government's crackdown on dissident in the wake of a disputed election. Because you know they're still down there rioting and protesting, right? The move is likely to draw further outcry from the U.S. and other countries that have concluded Gonzalez was the winner of the July 28th vote. Venezuelan authorities have declared instead, without evidence, that President Nicolas Maduro was reelected to a third term. Prosecutors are accusing Gonzalez of breaking the law because the opposition uploaded voting records to show he won in a landslide. Gonzalez is accused of crimes including forging public documents, incitement to disobedience of laws, conspiracy and sabotage, according to the arrest warrant published Monday on the prosecutor's office Instagram account. Thousands of citizens, including children, have been arrested as the regime sought to silence protests in the wake of the election. At least 25 have died, according to human rights groups, while banned opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has attended 3 opposition protests. Gonzalez hasn't appeared in public since 2 days after ballots were cast. I bet he hasn't. He doesn't want to get disappeared. He'll end up in a sewer somewhere, chained to the wall. So now his arrest is imminent. They have issued a warrant for his arrest for crimes against Venezuela, and the rest of the world is outraged. The U.S. says he clearly won that election, and Maduro is stealing the election, and now they're trying to criminalize him and weaponize the Justice Department against a political opponent. Sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Monkey says Crest is in the toothpaste. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I got problems with Crest because of their new commercials, and I want to dig into that a little bit. I got to see if I can find the commercials first so that I can show them to you so you know what I'm talking about. Gary says you wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent. Hey, you're going back a few years there now. Tuck says I hope the Venezuelans win. Chillin says Venezuela showed preppers everywhere. You ain't got enough. No kidding. No kidding. So yeah, there's possible evidence of the election being mishandled and possible fraud. And they're being called out by the U.S. for weaponizing the Justice Department against political opponents. Sound familiar? Does that sound familiar to you? I wonder if the U.S. has done that to anyone. I wonder if the U.S. has weaponized the Justice Department against anybody and trumped up charges against them and blown things out of proportion and tried to jail them or at least humiliate them in the media with bad press coverage and saying, oh, look, a criminal and he's going to jail. He's going to jail. He's a criminal. He broke the law. So what's good for the goose apparently is not good for the gander when it comes to the United States and Venezuela. I'll remind you all that we looked at the article a few weeks ago in Russian textbooks. It says that Biden stole the election, that Trump was the clear winner. Helder says both Venezuela and the U.S., the actions against these figures have deepened political divides. Maduro's opposition has intensified resistance efforts while Trump's supporters rally behind him. And Chillin says it's only a rumor. Oh, I know. I have to say that too. It's a rumor. It's a conspiracy theory. I cannot confirm nor deny anything. I can neither confirm nor deny anything. It's all a rumor. But I think it's really interesting how when it happens in other countries, the U.S. government's all up in arms about it. But if it looks like it's happening here, they want to crush it. They don't want you to talk about it. You get in trouble for talking about it. It's misinformation. They take your posts down. They block you. They accuse you of dissidence, of causing problems. They want to put you in jail, like the people on January 6th, some of them getting decades in jail. And now there's evidence that they didn't do what they were accused of. But good luck. Good luck. They'll sit there and rot until they can get a pardon. Independent article, so while we're down south of the border, Elon Musk defies the X ban in Brazil by beaming the app from space. Talk to the hand, ladies and gentlemen, talk to the hand. I love this. This is hilarious. Elon Musk has found a way to bypass the ban on his social media firm X in Brazil by allowing people in the country to access the app through his satellite internet provider Starlink. Brazil's Supreme Court voted on Monday to uphold a ban on X that was introduced last week by Justice Alexandre de Moraes after the company failed to follow a court order to appoint a new legal representative in the country. Mr. Musk criticized the ruling, claiming that Judge Morales was a dictator who should be impeached for violating freedom of speech. The new law forces internet service providers in the country to implement an immediate, complete, and comprehensive ban of X or face legal and financial ramifications. Starlink, which is controlled by Musk's other company, SpaceX, has more than 250,000 customers in Brazil who access the broadband network through the satellite receiver. Starlink has not complied with the court order, resulting in the network's bank account in Brazil being frozen, preventing the company from processing financial transactions. This order is based on an unfounded determination that Starlink should be responsible for the fines levied unconstitutionally against X, Starlink posted on X last week. Oh my goodness. And yeah, they blocked Starlink's bank account in Venezuela. In Brazil. How much money could possibly be in there that would even concern Musk in the least little bit? In the least little bit. Chillin says that Trump will pardon them. That would be the smart thing to do, since they are his supporters. And regardless of what happened, disorderly conduct and trespassing really should have been what the charges were, if you're going to charge them at all. Disorderly conduct and trespassing. There's really not even evidence of a riot. It's kind of ridiculous. And Tuck says, space-based trolling Brazil. Funny. Yeah, it is. Hey, 21st century, Jack. There you go. You're going to shut off X? Well, guess what? SpaceX is going to broadcast it now. And they seized the account. I'd like to know how much was in that account. I can't imagine it's that much that Brazil is going to lock it up, and they'll fine them until they can drain it. And I think they said something about a fine down here. Yeah, under the court ruling, any X users who access the platform's app or website through Starlink or a virtual private network faces a fine of up to 50,000 reais, which is 6,750 pounds sterling, which the pound is almost equal to the dollar now. It's lost a lot of value. So that's what, about $7,500. You're going to charge me $7,000. You're going to fine me $7,500 for accessing a platform? What kind of shit is that? And we're supposed to trust this government? No. Gary says my articulate posts on Faceplant get delayed around 72 hours until everyone has moved on. Only slowpoke trolls get to read my posts. That's how they slow your roll. Yeah. And it could be worse. Faceplant. I like that. Faceplant. So can you imagine? Oh, you looked at a website we don't want you to look at, so we're going to charge you 50,000 reais, if I pronounce that correctly. That's incredible. So much for free speech. But at the same time, Brazil is doing this. We pull this article up, and this is a Reuters article. Come on, Restream, get that article loaded. Anytime now. There it is. Brazil's government considers taxing big techs if revenues fall short. Of course your revenue is going to fall short. You're Brazil. And you're corrupt. Says Brazil's finance ministry said on Monday that if there is a shortfall in revenue, it will submit proposals to Congress in this year's second half to tax big tech companies and implement a global minimum tax of 15% on multinational corporations to secure the 2025 fiscal goal. In a presentation on the 2025 budget bill sent to Congress on Friday, which projects a primary surplus of 3.7 billion reais next year, the finance ministry estimated potential revenue of 17.9 billion reais from the increase in certain income taxes. In a separate bill submitted on Friday to lawmakers, the government proposed changes to the social contribution tax on corporate income and interest on equity payments. The ministry estimated raising 58.5 billion reais from tax negotiations next year, including 30 billion reais from new dispute resolution programs for large taxpayers to be launched in 2025, following an agreement made this year with state-owned oil giant Petrobras. Companies that approached U.S. estimated paying 130 billion reais in settlements, but we included 30 billion reais in the 2025 budget bill, the ministry said. So they want to tack on 15% to big tech companies, which would be X. So you want to suspend X, you want to fine people for looking at X, but then you want to also tax X 15%. You want to bump their tax 15%. Tuck says the only government they trust is Atlantis, or maybe Doggerland. Zombieland, huh? Chillin said Zombieland. Yeah, you can't trust any of them. You can't trust any of them. Some are worse than others, and some are getting really bad. I mean, I'd rather live in the U.S. than almost anywhere else. But the U.S. is getting bad, and it's been steadily declining for a long time. Taxes are going up constantly. It's only a matter of time before they really try to crush us or the country goes bankrupt. And Brazil as well. I mean, you can only squeeze people so much. And just like I say about the United States, I can make the same argument about most countries, that the majority of the problem when it comes to government spending is misuse and misappropriation of funds. You're taking money from people by force. You don't care how it's spent. And when you spend too much, you just come up with new taxes and you squeeze people even more. That's not sustainable. Rather than being good stewards of the tax money that you're in charge of and spending it wisely, you want to crush everybody. Because what do I care? It's not my money. I'm not spending my money, I'm spending yours, is the basic attitude. Or if you want to go old school about it, read your Bible. God only asked for 10%. And sometimes not even that. Sometimes not even that. A government, you know what? It should be able to function on 10%. If you get rid of all the bureaucracy, if you get rid of all the red tape, if people take that job seriously and spend the money wisely and cared about the fact that it was other people's money. Hey, I know this money isn't mine. I'm going to spend it right. I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to look for the best contracts. I'm not going to spend money unnecessarily. I'm not going to create pet projects for myself or for fringe minority groups that I want votes from. I'm not going to force socio-political issues and agendas into various programs or piggyback programs. Get rid of all that garbage. I bet you every country on the planet could operate on 10%. Seriously. And what are you paying now? What are you honestly paying now? And I don't mean just from your wages, state and federal, because you pay a lot more than that, don't you? You pay taxes on everything you buy, everything you sell. You pay taxes on your gas. You pay taxes on your groceries. You pay taxes on your utilities, your phone bill, your gas bill, your electric bill. You're paying taxes on that. You're paying taxes when you go to the supermarket. You're paying taxes. You buy a new washing machine. You pay taxes if you sell that washing machine, unless you do it under the table, which is hard. Chillin says, refresh my memory, DT didn't take a paycheck. I believe he donated it, talking about Trump. I believe he was donating that, wasn't he? He said, because he don't need the money. He don't need the money, obviously. So no, he did. I mean, what is the presidential salary? It's not that much. I know it's less than $300,000 a year, right? He doesn't need that. Let me see. What is the president's current salary? Okay, 400,000. It's gone up. It wasn't that much. It wasn't that much the last time I looked. So $400,000. But you know, being a billionaire, he doesn't need that. He doesn't need it. That makes sense to me. But yeah, I really honestly believe that. You all know that's my phrasing. Tax is extortion. Give it to us or else. It's not robbery. It's not theft. It's extortion. You don't really have a choice. But when you really boil it down, when you consider you're paying tax for everything. You're paying tax to work, to have the right to work. State and federal from your income, tax on purchases, tax on gas, tax attached to all of your utilities. Flukeman says you taxed for using the toilet, dying, and everything else. Yeah, I mean, water, you pay tax on your water bill. So yeah, you are taxed for flushing the toilet. And there is a death tax that passed on to your family. Hell, an inheritance tax. You're paying more than probably damn near or more than 50% of what you earn when you lump it all together with just off the top of my head without knowing. That's appalling. That's appalling. And they can't manage it. They can't manage it because they don't want to manage it, because they don't care. Again, it's not their money, it's yours. If they need more, they'll invent another tax or they'll raise one that already exists and spend that too. It's misuse. It's a misuse, gross negligence in tax dollars spending. Gross negligence. I swear, if I was ever in politics, I would vote no on every damn thing. Everything. I can't condone spending this. I just can't do it. I'd never get anything done. Chillin says cashless will mean tax on hookers and drugs. That's okay. Yeah, they'll have to tax that too, which is why they've legalized marijuana in a lot of states in recent years. People are going to do it anyways. May as well tax it. May as well make prostitution legal in every state and tax that too. Make marijuana legal in every state and tax that too. They tax your prescriptions. They tax everything. They tax Social Security, which is Biden's fault, by the way. What, am I wrong? There was no Social Security before 1984. If anybody, I throw things off the top of my head, so I can get things jumbled up from time to time. I'm sure somebody can look it up if they're curious. 1984 is when they started taxing it, right? And wasn't then Senator Biden at the forefront of doing that? But he's always saying that Republicans want to take away your Social Security. That's his fault. Fox News article. Former aide to the Democratic New York governor has been arrested in a federal case. This is breaking news this morning. So more government corruption from government officials. Are you shocked? Are you heartbroken? New York police arrested a former aide to Governor Kathy Hochul on Tuesday, weeks after the FBI raided the aide's Long Island home. Authorities arrested both Linda Sun and her husband Chris Hu, or Yu. H-U is Hu in the Chinese dialect, correct? In Tuesday's action, the charges remain sealed until the couple appear in court later Tuesday. Hochul fired Sun last year after her office discovered evidence of misconduct. They knew she was committing misconduct. They just didn't want it to get back to Hochul, so they got ahead of it by firing her. This individual was hired by the executive chamber more than a decade ago. We terminated her employment in March of 2023 after discovering evidence of misconduct, immediately reporting her actions to law enforcement, and have assisted law enforcement throughout this process. Hochul's office said in a statement the FBI had raided Sun's $3.5 million home in July, but no arrests were made at that time. $3.5 million home. The Brooklyn District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. While working under Hochul, Sun focused on business development, Asian American affairs, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, her LinkedIn profile shows. So she was a diversity hire whose function also was to create more diversity hires, and people are shocked that she was corrupt. But they don't tell you what the charges are, but I have found out what they are, and I'll tell you. Moki says they moved to Texas. When did you move? Recently? And Big Mac says there's a test. Yeah, there's a test. Yep, you better watch it. You better watch it. Fluke Man says, as a Canadian businessman, forgot his name, and young people first job should not be taxed for the first few years. Interesting. And Helter said Hochul's office never publicized the firing and the press never picked it up over a year ago. Something's not adding up. If I had read another posting that says that it's espionage charges. So spying for the Chinese government, basically. And Moki says, yeah, so you moved recently. Okay, I hope that works out well for you. Where were you moving from, Moki? So there's Hochul with about 3/4 of an inch of foundation on her face. Golly, these people in the makeup, it makes me sick to my stomach. I can't stand even the smell of it. All that makeup, all those cosmetics, the odor is offensive to me. And never mind how it looks. It looks awful. I'd rather just see her wrinkles than, than look than look at her vanity mask. That's what I ought to start calling it now. The vanity mask. That's what it is, right? Talk to me about women's empowerment while you put on a mask to hide what you really look like. Moki says Los Angeles. That's going to work out a lot better for you. I believe it, Moki. I'm glad you were able to make the jump because it's not easy. Everybody always says, oh, just leave. If you don't like how it is in your state, you can just move. That's what Jesse Ventura said. He used to say that. Well, every state's like another country. You can just pick up and move if you don't like it. It's not that simple. It might be easy for Jesse because he has money. If you haven't got the money for it, it's tough. Finding another job, finding a place to live, all of that, it's hard. So, yeah, that's good. Big Mac says, I agree. If humanity stopped with chemicals, it would be pretty much perfect. You know, stupidity came from chemicals. And Warden says, welcome to Texas. Yes, indeed. Welcome to Texas. Say hi to JR for me. But, yeah, my understanding is that it is espionage charges. It's never, it was not publicized, like was alluded to in the comments, that she was fired by Holzel's office for misconduct, nor did it ever express what that misconduct was. Odds are they felt the winds of change coming. Maybe a couple of federal officers were poking around, and Holzel's office was like, whoop, better get rid of this one before it leaks back to us. That would be my best guess. And Brian says, oh, Brian is late. He says, here's my late note. Is it signed Epstein's mother? Somebody's going to get that reference. What am I talking about? Here's a note excusing my absence. It's signed Epstein's mother. But that's breaking news this morning. Like I said, I've heard, even though it does not say in the articles, that Linda's son and her husband, Chris Hugh, are being arrested on espionage. So remains to be seen. That's what I've heard. I could be wrong. We'll find out for sure as the investigation continues. As the investigation continues to open up, it will be slowly revealed eventually. And yet another politician in political office, especially since it says that she was connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Doesn't surprise me at all that something fishy was going on with all of that. Really get sick and tired of that kind of garbage. Lousy, stupid job. Donna got it. Sweat Hogs, welcome back, Cotter. That's right. Juan Epstein always had a note for excuse of absence, missing homework, whatever it was. And it would say something like, please excuse Juan from having to do this or that, signed Epstein's mother, because he would write Epstein's mother instead of writing her name. Warden says Kathy Holchel looks like the cat creature from Scooby-Doo. Oh, poor Scooby-Doo. She does look bad, though, but it's mostly the makeup. And, long-term use of that makeup, it clogs your pores. It damages your skin. So when you take the makeup off, you look worse and worse and worse. I remember on, what's the name of that show where they correct damage from, is it Botched? They're cosmetic surgeons and they repair damage from other cosmetic surgeons. And this guy went in there and he had this growth on his nose. It was bad. It was huge. And the guy was a drag queen. And he had this is important. And he had this big growth. And they were like, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to remove this growth from your nose. And after the surgery, he was like, okay. And Raccoon confirms it was botched. I don't know if you saw this episode. He says it was not a growth. It was acne. it was a monster-sized pimple. And the reason that it grew is because of all the foundational makeup that you wear. You're choking your skin with all that makeup. And he was so freaked out by it. He said that he wasn't gonna go and drag anymore because he was afraid to put the makeup back on. Raccoon says Pimple Popper, Dr. Pimple Popper is cool too, but sometimes it can be gross to watch. I've never watched that. And one more here. Big Mac says, I bet a lot of people would going to be arrested for espionage. I mean, just because of Obama and Biden and Kamala and the Pelosi and the Clintons, martial law started by drugs. Okay, I jumbled that a little bit, but we get the idea. Anyways, with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and begin to sign off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk. And if you are listening somewhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, at Coffee Talk Live, at Prep University. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. No more felines left in the room except for Monkey, who is asleep in the chair behind me. Some of you might can see that gray blob or black blob in the gray chair back there. That's Monkey having a nap. But anyways, with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, I hope you got something out of the conversation.